Hello, IB English students, and welcome to the video for week 5, day 1. Sorry I couldn't be in class with you today, but I made this video that I think will help you get much further in completing your high-level essay outline for perfume. In order to have that, or to make this go faster, please go ahead and open up your higher-level essay outline for perfume. That's still listed under week 3 on Canvas. As a reminder, everything you say, do, or type is recorded, so please keep it school appropriate and treat our substitute nicely. Please keep your cameras and microphones off until asked to unmute. Monitor the chat for messages from the substitute, or if you have questions, please direct them to her there. And as always, there's no saving, downloading, or taking pictures of our class ever. Our agenda, I'm going to go over some suggestions and strategies for writing your high-level essay outline for perfume. And then the remainder of the time after watching this video is yours to continue working on that high-level essay outline for perfume. All right, so let's talk about different scenarios, right? You're probably going to fall under one of two scenarios. The first scenario is in your perfume questions, you have two pieces of evidence from the text that support the same message about a line of inquiry, right? You read chapters 1 to 25 and you found, your two bullet points, one, let's say identity and communication. And then you read the second half of the book and you also found a message about identity and communication. That's great. You're going to need to pick one of those to kind of focus on, in this scenario, right? You pick one of those to focus on, and then you're going to want to fill in body paragraphs 1 and 2 using those responses. Then you'll need to search through the text to find a third piece of evidence that would also support your assertion about Susskind's message about that line of inquiry that you've selected. Okay, and I'm going to show you what that might look like on the next screen. Okay, so you've got your blank outline. If you remember from before, right, using the backwards planning strategy, we don't start with the top of the document. We start by filling in our body paragraphs, right? If I look back, I have these sample responses, right? I'm looking back at my question 1 stuff, and I notice that I have this bullet point, right? In the text perfume, the author uses syntax to develop a message about communication. Susskind wants the reader to know or understand that a lack of communication can lead to disaster, even death. All right, this is demonstrated when the author says blah, 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 blah. And I've got a pretend quote from page 27. Please keep in mind, I just made up page numbers here, right? Like, don't go looking on page 27 for a specific quote to back this up. Again, I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. Okay. So this is that first bullet point that I want to use, or that first piece of evidence from my questions that I want to use, right? So I want to transfer this material over to body paragraph 1. Remember, the only thing that needs to be a full sentence is the stuff that's highlighted in yellow. So just that topic sentence. And then everything else can just be very quick bullet point answers. When I do that, right, taking from here, right, my topic sentence becomes, in the text perfume, the author uses syntax to develop a message about communication, semicolon. Susskind wants the reader to know or understand that a lack of communication can lead to disaster, even death. Then I want to fill in those other those other bullet points. And then because I already have it here, right, you would have the whole quote. I just have my little demo here. But copy and paste the quote in its entirety, right, where it says evidence, right, here where it says quote or synopsis. And then proceed to fill out the other bullet points, right, recycling as much of your answer from the reading questions as possible. Okay, that would be the first thing you do. Next, right, I've got this other bullet point from my reading, right? In the text perfume, the author uses diction to develop a message about communication. Susskind wants the reader to know or understand that communication only works if both people involved participate, right? This is demonstrated when blah, 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 blah. And I'm pretending that my quote comes from page 56. I would do the exact same thing that I did before, right? Moving to body paragraph 2. There's only one difference, right? Notice that in body paragraph 2, your topic sentence needs a transition. So I might have something like this. Another message about communication that Susskind wants the reader to know or understand is that communication only works if both people involved participate. I would go through those same steps again, right? Copy and paste my quote in its entirety and fill in the remaining bullet points, recycling as much material as possible. Okay. Again, after you've done that, you have to find that third piece of evidence, right? I've just got question marks or blanks in here, right? So this could be diction, imagery, details, language, or syntax. You have to figure out what is that message about communication he's trying to convey, and then where is that quote going to come from, what page number. Okay. Once you have all three of those things done, right, and you filled in the body paragraphs, then it's time to return to the top of the document. The first thing you should fill in is up here, the little fill in the blank question being addressed or line of inquiry, right? In the text, full title of the text, underlined or italicized, how does blank, and you use blank to develop blank, right? When I put all that together from using my body paragraphs, I would have in the text, perfume, the story of a murderer. How does Patrick Süskind use syntax, diction, and blank to develop a message about communication? Pretty simple. The next thing that you could fill in, you can move on to the introduction about like how you're going to introduce the topic of your paper, etc. But the next thing I want to focus on for this demo is the thesis statement. You have all your body paragraph materials, so you should be able to generate your thesis statement as well. For example, with my demo here, right, Patrick Süskind uses syntax, diction, and blank to convey several messages about communication. Süskind wants the reader to know or understand that a lack of communication can lead to disaster, comma, that communication only works if both people involved participate, comma, and whatever that third lesson is that comes from my third example that I find. Okay, this is the way I would suggest you complete your outline, right? The backwards planning method makes sure that all of the material that you have is in sync with one another and that your thesis statement will be accurate. I'm also going to point out, right, that in my demo, all of my examples are in chronological order, right? Actually, the next one I'll show you will be even better. Right, page 27, that material would go before the material that comes from page 56. Right? And if this was page 94, this would obviously be the last one. You don't want to have 27, 94, then 56. That confuses readers. Okay. Another scenario might be that you didn't find, the exact same bullet points for the exact same lines of inquiry. Let's say in your perfume questions, you have multiple pieces of evidence from the text that support several different messages about several lines of inquiry. That's okay too. My suggestion would be to select your three strongest, and by that I mean maybe easiest to explain, bullets. Then fill in your body paragraphs 1, 2, and 3 using your responses. Just a quick note, right? Your evidence should come from all over the text, right? Try to get something from the beginning, something from the middle, something from the end. You don't want to have all your quotes coming from just the beginning or just the middle or just the end. Okay, so let's take a look at what that would look like very briefly, right? My first example. In the text Perfume, the author uses syntax to develop a message about communication. He wants us to understand that a lack of communication can lead to disaster, even death, right? The same one that we used from before. The next bullet point that I want to use from my reading questions, right, is in the text Perfume, the author uses metaphors to develop a message about creativity. Süskind wants the reader to know or understand that there is no proper procedure for creativity. Right. Again, notice I'm not using the same line of inquiry, right? This first one is about communication. This one is about creativity, right? I'm allowed to use a blend. And then the third bullet point that I've selected for my demo, right, is in the text Perfume, the author uses imagery to develop a message about identity, right? A third area. The author wants us to know or understand that a person's identity is largely influenced by what that person can and cannot do. Okay, again, notice my three examples are in chronological order, page 27, page 43, and page 78. Once I've figured out what are my three strongest bullet points, what do I really want to talk about in my essay, or what would be the easiest for me to talk about in my essay, I would follow those same steps that I showed you on the previous slide, right? Fill in the body paragraph 1 information using this, recycling as much of this as possible. Body paragraph 2 would recycle this. Make sure you add in that transition. And then body paragraph 3 would use this information. And again, make sure you add in that transitional phrase to your topic sentence. Once you've got that done, you repeat the exact same steps. You go up to your question being addressed, right? And you add in the missing pieces. You'll notice that you have to change a little bit, right? In the text perfume, story of a murder. How does Patrick Süskind use syntax, metaphor, and imagery to develop messages about communication, creativity, and identity? Right? Because I'm pulling from 3 different places, I need to list all 3 in my question. Again, you can move on to the introduction stuff, or you can kind of skip that and come back to it and then write your thesis statement now that you have all your body paragraph material. You'll notice that the thesis statement is longer for this one, and that's because you have 3 separate messages. It's probably best to give each message its own sentence, or to try to do what you can to keep those sentences shorter if you are going to combine them. So for example, Patrick Süskind uses syntax, metaphors, and imagery to convey several messages, period. He uses syntax to convey the message that a lack of communication can lead to disaster, period. He uses metaphors to convey the message that there is no proper procedure for creativity, comma, and imagery to convey that a person's identity is largely influenced by what that person can and cannot do. Okay. And then you would have all of that material ready to go. And then actually the only other thing that you would need to fill in, if you skip the introduction part, make sure you go back to that, and then make sure that you also fill in the call to action at the bottom. And if you need help with that, click on the hyperlink and look at the samples. In addition to that, I would also suggest, if you haven't done so already, right, please go back and look at the resources that I put together for you, right? You may want to just return to those high level essay intro slides, right, in the video that I had for that. There's also the common errors and how to fix them that we talked about in first semester. You might just want to look at that maybe after you're done filling yours in, and then look at those common errors and just ask yourself, did I make those same mistakes? Can I eliminate them, etc.? You won't really need these 2 resources until after we start writing the essay. Okay, and that's everything. So a couple of quick reminders right before I end this video. First, you should be working on that higher level essay outline for perfume. It's due March 6th. I know I'm not in class with you now, but we will have time during our next class to discuss this further, and I'll try to work with people one-on-one as much as they need. As a reminder, the student support time has changed, right? It is now from 7:45 to 8:45 a.m. If you need to get a hold of me, I will be available on Tuesday morning to do that. Wednesday are academic check-in times, right? For period 1, that's from 10:05 to 10:25. For period 3, that's from 10:55 to 11:15. And period 8, it's 1:45 to 2:05. Right? I will be available for those as well. And we still use the same protocol, right? Just click on the student support link under the Zoom info tab on our Canvas page if you want to join either at 7:45 or during one of these times for academic support. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you soon.